How long could you live in a house that is completely isolated from the rest of the world? In the middle of the ocean, on the edge of cliffs, or in remote places with no roads, there are still homes that stand quietly in complete solitude. There are no neighbors, no streets, and sometimes not even an easy way to leave. There, people must live surrounded by powerful winds, rough seas, and a silence that lasts day after day. Is that absolute freedom, or a kind of loneliness that not everyone can endure? Today, let us explore the loneliest houses in the world. Pinned straight into the vertical cliff of the Dolomites Bivacco Buffa di Perero looks like a house trapped between the high sky and the rocky drop below. Sitting at more than 9,055 feet above sea level, this small house rests against the Monte Cristallo cliff like part of the mountain itself. Bivacco Buffa di Perero was built by Italian soldiers during World War I from 1915 to 1918 as an observation post and strategic shelter during the war against Austria-Hungary. The snowstorms here can be so severe that they once tore down the roof of the house in past years, requiring extraordinary restoration efforts. This is not a hotel for tourists, but an emergency shelter, so you must bring everything you need, including drinking water. Anyone who reaches this place can use the shelter fairly like an unspoken rule of teamwork among people who love high mountains. Solvay Hut near the Matterhorn summit in the Swiss Alps is one of the loneliest shelters clinging to a vertical cliff high in the sky. The metal-covered wooden hut stands at about 13,100 feet, serving as an emergency lifeline for serious mountaineers. Inside the hut offers only about 108 square feet of space, providing minimal shelter for climbing teams in danger. The hut has stood for more than 100 years through durable construction, resisting harsh erosion in the high Alps. Its presence creates a striking contrast between humanity's tiny architecture and the vast grandeur of granite rock masses. Phoktal Monastery in India's Zanskar region is a mysterious, secluded monastery built around a huge natural cave opening on a cliff. This ancient Buddhist structure has endured for 2,500 years, becoming a lasting symbol of faith within the majestic Himalayas. Reaching this destination requires visitors to hike across precarious trails for many days before touching absolute silence. Monastery walls made from mud bricks and wood blend perfectly with the mountainside, creating a complex separated from the modern world. The monastery structure has clung to solid rock for centuries, defying normal construction rules through ancient handmade techniques. Its interior contains many shrines and narrow corridors, forming a quiet, spiritual maze deep within a remote Rocky Mountain region. Katski Pillar in Georgia's Imereti region is a solitary limestone column rising straight into the sky, preserving isolated beauty above a lush valley. This single limestone pillar stands about 130 feet high, creating a hermit refuge completely separated from the human world below. The summit surface covers only about 1,600 square feet, offering a minimal living space for hermits who chose seclusion. The monastery atop the rock pillar was built in the 9th century, proving human perseverance in conquering extreme height. The limestone structure formed from ancient marine sediments shaped over millions of years to stand firmly above the wide valley. Reaching the pillar summit requires climbing a vertical iron ladder system, testing the courage of anyone approaching this lonely dwelling. The eternal survival of this rock amid storms confirms nature's superior strength where time seems to have stopped centuries ago. Hanging from the cliffs of the Sacred Valley Cliffside Capsule is known as the world's first hanging hotel, where one night of sleep can begin with the feeling of being in midair. These clear sleeping pods sit about 1,312 feet above the ground, offering a stay made for people who want more adventure than ordinary comfort. Each capsule is made from aerospace aluminum and high-strength polycarbonate, with the ability to hold up to about 28 US tons. To turn a steep cliff into a place where someone can sleep overnight, each suite is secured by 21 strong anchor points. The only emergency exit is placed on the roof of the capsule, giving the person inside a way out if something unexpected happens. Even your meal becomes part of the adventure, because local guides have to climb the cliff or use ropes to bring food to you. Cliff Convenience Store is a tiny kiosk of about 22 square feet, famous as the most inconvenient convenience store in the world. At first, this place was only a small rest stop for climbers, but in April 2018, it was turned into a real convenience store. The store is shaped like a small wooden box, fixed tightly to the cliff with a special safety anchor system to keep it stable on the vertical rock wall. To reach it, you must follow a climbing route about 2,600 feet long with steel cables, iron ladders, and safety bolts along the way. To restock the store, workers have to climb the mountain every day or use a special zipline system to move food up the cliff. Even though delivery is extremely difficult, a bottle of water here costs only about 2 yuan, or about 30 US cents, to support people climbing the mountain. Pentadatolo in Italy's Calabria region is an ancient village clinging to a hand-shaped rock formation embodying haunting beauty amid nature. Simple stone houses stand isolated against the mountainside, reflecting centuries of silence since the last residents departed. The hand-shaped sandstone formation rises about 1,970 feet high, reaching more than twice the height of the Eiffel Tower. After the devastating earthquake of 1783, the village was completely abandoned and became a place preserving echoes of the past. Deep chasms between rocky outcrops form natural boundaries, shielding the settlement from the influence of the modern world. The presence of these ruins among limestone cliffs confirms the limits of human construction against the enduring power of time. Hanging Temple in Shanxi Province, China, is a unique ancient structure that has clung to a vertical cliff for more than 1,500 years. The temple complex was built about 246 feet above the ground, creating a remarkably precarious architectural presence on the cliff face. Hundreds of wooden beams were inserted deep into natural rock cavities, supporting the entire weight of this historic wooden structure. Walkways between the temple halls are narrow and steep, weaving through natural rock formations to create a continuous yet challenging passage. The temple honors Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism together, reflecting profound religious harmony within an exceptionally distinctive architectural setting. Dark brown wooden elements combined with silver-gray roof tiles create a striking visual contrast against the rugged cliff backdrop. The temple's existence on such a dangerous cliff demonstrates human ingenuity in overcoming harsh terrain through ancient engineering techniques. Klein Curacao Lighthouse Keeper's House is a solitary structure in the Caribbean Sea, swallowed by the ocean, where no traces of human presence remain around it. The house and lighthouse stand alone on a flat coral island of about 420 acres, roughly 6.2 miles southeast of Curaçao, completely separated from the mainland. The area is constantly exposed to strong trade winds from the ocean, keeping the entire environment harsh and empty. In 1977, a massive hurricane completely destroyed the original lighthouse built in 1850, forcing its reconstruction. When rebuilt in 1979, the entire structure was coated in bright coral pink plaster, creating a strong contrast against the deep blue sea and its isolated architecture. The lighthouse tower stands about 72 feet tall, alone on a barren island, like a single stone pillar piercing the stormy Caribbean sky. La Jument is known as the death-defying challenger of the Iroquois Sea, where waves dozens of feet high can swallow an entire lighthouse in one of the most violent stretches of water in Europe. The image of the tower, standing alone inside a white wall of water, with waves rising to more than 80 feet, has become one of the most iconic moments in maritime photography. For decades, lighthouse keepers lived inside cylindrical rooms of only about 161 square feet, where the line between work, sleep, and isolation almost disappeared. Between white sea foam and the darkness of the ocean, that stern gray tower creates a color palette of deep sorrow, like a lonely symbol of humanity facing nature at its most unforgiving. Bishop Rock is a lonely rock in the Atlantic Ocean, recognized by Guinness World Records as the smallest island in the world with a building on it. It sits at the western edge of the Isles of Scilly, off the coast of England, like a small rock reaching into the open sea, about 28 miles from the mainland. Before the current tower existed, an iron lighthouse was started in 1847, but a major storm in 1850 destroyed it completely before it was finished. On calm days, the White Tower stands clearly above the blue water, but when storms arrive, waves dozens of feet high can hide the base of the tower and make Bishop Rock look like an island that is disappearing. The present lighthouse was built with about 2,500 tons of granite, with each stone block cut and carefully numbered on land before being shipped out to Bishop Rock. On that small rock, there are no trees and no soil, and from the lighthouse, the only thing stretching ahead is the far horizon of the Atlantic. Elide Island lies isolated in the sea off Iceland, distinguished by a solitary wooden house, standing amid lush green surroundings filled with extraordinary silence. This structure was built in 1953 by a local hunting association, serving as lodging for members who visited the remote island. In 1930, the last 5 families left the island and returned to the mainland, leaving it without permanent residence for many years. The house has no electricity, no road access, and no internet connection, becoming a classic symbol of complete separation from the modern world. Aogashima Island in Japan's vast Pacific Ocean is a unique volcanic landscape where a small village sits entirely within a massive crater. This remarkable geological formation creates a natural fortress surrounding the entire settlement, completely separating residents from mainland life. Cliffs surrounding the island rise about 1,300 feet high, forming a strong wall between human habitation and the powerful ocean beyond. The island's population is only about 160 people, creating a close-knit community in a remote region far from modern urban centers. After the devastating eruption of 1785, residents returned to rebuild their homes upon the volcanic remains, proving extraordinary resilience. Complete isolation in the middle of the ocean has turned this island into a symbol of tranquility, where people live alongside Earth's primal forces. Elide House is a sanctuary of solitude, a place named the loneliest house in the world. 300 years ago, 5 families once clung to life here in fragile turf huts, fighting nature to survive by fishing and hunting birds before surrendering and leaving completely in the 1930s. Unlike the rumors of a billionaire hideout or a cult, this house was built by the Elide Hunting Association in 1953, simply serving as a resting stop for the bravest puffin hunters. This house rejects all ordinary tourists, cannot be booked on any website, and its doors only open for members of the hunting association or their close friends. On days when thick fog rises from the sea, the island and the house seem to float among the clouds, ethereal and unreal, like a scene straight out of Norse mythology. Skellig Michael in Ireland is a lonely rocky island in the ocean where monks' stone huts have endured for more than 1,000 years. The monastery complex includes beehive-shaped huts built entirely by hand from stone without mortar, binding the slabs together. The island rises about 715 feet above the sea, forming a sharp stone spear surrounded by the violent ocean. Reaching it requires visitors to climb 600 rough stone steps, a serious physical challenge in a completely isolated wilderness. The presence of old stone huts creates a nostalgic feeling, evoking a civilization that rejected ordinary comforts. House on the Drina River stands precariously on a lone rock amid the powerful current of the Drina River in beautiful Serbia today. The rustic wooden house rests on the narrow stone block, resembling a tiny fortress, quietly facing the destructive force of the water below. Since 1968, this structure has been swept away by floods 7 times, yet local people have patiently rebuilt it from ruins. Every material forming the house uses old reclaimed wood, giving it a nostalgic appearance that blends with the majestic, natural scenery around it. The house has no road connection, forcing visitors to travel by wooden boat or water transport to reach its isolated charm. Its resilient existence in the river has turned the place into a classic symbol of unyielding spirit against nature's violent changes. St. George's Island in Montenegro's Bay of Kotor is often called the world's loneliest island, holding an ancient monastery isolated among calm waters. The island contains a monastery from the 12th century, surrounded by tall cypress trees that create a solemn and quiet appearance. Rules banning tourist landings turn this place into a secluded oasis, fully preserving the silence around its ancient cultural values. The stone wall surrounding the island rises about 33 feet, protecting the solitude of resting souls behind the ancient architecture. The combination of cold grey stone cliffs and dark green cypress trees creates one of the Adriatic's most iconic solitary architectural symbols. Civita di Bagnoregio in Italy's Lazio region is a disappearing ancient village with only 10 residents perched on an eroding volcanic rock. The village's only entrance is a pedestrian bridge about 1,000 feet long, completely separating its medieval architecture from the modern world. Fragile tufa ground makes the village area shrink after every rainfall, marking the inevitable ending of its long history. Stone archways and houses still stand firmly through many changes, proving the masterful construction techniques of earlier eras. Empty windows facing the deep abyss evoke the limits of every human structure before untouched nature. The village carries a haunting beauty of final memories where every falling stone reminds visitors of time's decay. Meteora in the Thessaly region of Greece is a complex of ancient monasteries perched atop giant sandstone pillars suspended high above the landscape. These towering sandstone columns were formed through millions of years of erosion, creating stable foundations for isolated structures among nature. More than 1,000 rock pillars rise toward the sky, forming a natural barrier that once provided secluded living spaces for monks. Red-tiled buildings, balanced atop dark stone formations, stand as enduring evidence of humanity's spiritual devotion and perseverance through centuries. Meteora has survived for more than 600 years, a lifespan far exceeding that of many of the world's most modern skyscrapers. Ronda in Spain's Andalusia region stands upon a limestone plateau famous for white buildings perched dramatically above the edge of a deep gorge. A canyon about 330 feet deep divides the town into two sections, creating a formidable setting for centuries-old architecture. Stone arch bridges built during the 18th century connect both sides of the gorge and remain proud symbols of historic engineering. Ronda once played a central role in shaping modern bullfighting traditions, preserving distinctive cultural and historical values of the region. Time-worn white walls standing beside rocky precipices create a striking contrast between ancient tranquility and rugged natural terrain. The town was built directly upon natural limestone cliffs, demonstrating humanity's determination to overcome challenging geographic limitations. Rwanda's enduring presence above the vast gorge reflects the human ability to create lasting settlements in some of the most isolated locations. Taktsang Palphug in Bhutan is a legendary spiritual structure clinging to vertical cliffs, symbolizing extreme isolation within the vast Himalayas. The monastery sits about 2,950 feet above the valley, forming a precarious refuge suspended between earth and sky. Built entirely by hand from wood and stone, the structure proves the endurance of faith against some of the world's harshest terrain. The distance from the cliff summit to the valley creates a deep abyss, confirming complete separation from the material world. Interwoven white and red walls among rock crevices create architecture blended with nature, preserving eternal silence across hundreds of years. Stone steps carved directly into the rock have worn down beneath millions of pilgrims' footsteps through generations. This spiritual home on granite cliffs proves humanity's desire to conquer the harshest limits of existence. Huashan Tea House, atop Mount Hua in China, is one of the world's most isolated destinations, perched on a towering granite cliff. Visitors reach this location through a wooden walkway only about 1 foot wide, attached directly to cliffs above a deep abyss. Hand-built from wood, the structure stands at roughly 6,600 feet in elevation, symbolizing human perseverance beyond ordinary limits. The tea house remains completely separated from the outside world, where profound silence surrounds every corner of the ancient structure. Its design relies entirely on the natural mountain formation without concrete foundations, preserving a sense of untouched beauty through time. The isolation here creates a unique experience where visitors confront themselves amid an immense landscape of cliffs and endless space. Rocamadour, in France's Occitania region, has stacked buildings clinging to vertical limestone cliffs along a deep canyon. This architectural complex divides space into several levels, from the lower residential area to the sacred zone and proud castle. The limestone cliff supporting the town rises about 400 feet, similar in height to Milan Cathedral's bell tower in Italy. The town's history spans more than 800 years, witnessing the rise of faith and important changes within French dynasties. Houses here cling tightly to the limestone cliff surface like one unified body, challenging ordinary physical laws of structural stability. The sacred Black Madonna statue inside the chapel has survived for more than 800 years, becoming the town's enduring spiritual symbol. Predjama Castle in Slovenia is a unique architectural wonder, built directly within the mouth of a gigantic cave, forming a mysterious natural fortress. The castle structure was crafted from carefully cut stone, blending seamlessly with the surrounding cave walls to become part of the mountain. The cave system beneath the castle extends about 9 miles, enough space to accommodate the population of a small, isolated community. The castle is arranged across 4 stacked levels, maximizing the limestone cavern's natural recesses to create an exceptionally hidden refuge. This defensive stronghold stands firmly upon a cliff about 400 feet high, demonstrating remarkable engineering skill in conquering difficult terrain. Bortzi Castle stands alone in the bay, a solid fortress embracing the small island like a limestone crown separated from the busy mainland. A giant iron chain once linked the fortress to the mainland, forming a barrier that stopped foreign ships from entering the important harbor. The structure changed functions across many eras, serving as a military outpost, prison, and luxury hotel, welcoming international figures. Bortzi Castle has a hexagonal tower structure that optimized defense, creating a strong, strategic position in the stormy bay. More than 500 years of isolation turned the fortress into a classic symbol of loneliness, silently standing in the ocean as a historical witness. Church of the Assumption stands isolated in the middle of a deep Slovenian lake, appearing like a proud stone crown within a landscape of timeless tranquility. The church features a bell tower about 171 feet high, standing firmly on a small island as one of Europe's most solitary landmarks. The combination of deep red roof tiles and brilliant white walls has transformed this location into a legendary destination renowned throughout Europe. The legend of the Wishing Bell has attracted millions of visitors who ring it in hopes of receiving blessings and spiritual guidance. Beneath its elegant, Baroque appearance, the site still preserves foundations from an ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Ziva, dating back to the 8th century. Ile de Saint-Cado lies on the Ria de Tel River in Brittany, France, standing out as a limestone islet, completely isolated amid the surrounding waters. The ancient chapel built in the 12th century became the soul of the island, preserving enduring spiritual values through countless generations of faithful visitors. The island's size constantly changes with the rising and falling tides, creating a uniquely shifting beauty that feels magical within the raw natural landscape. The absolute silence surrounding the island has made it a symbol of voluntary solitude, set apart from the hurried world filled with endless noise. The minimalist beauty of grey stone and blue water makes this place more captivating than the grand cathedrals found in Paris, France today. Mont Saint-Michel stands on a small rocky island off the coast of Normandy, France, where tides create a hauntingly beautiful sense of isolation. Tidal variation in this bay reaches about 49 feet, transforming the entire island landscape from a sea fortress into a vast sandy expanse. Its weathered stone walls, standing for more than 1,000 years, have protected the island from harsh sea salt and powerful ocean waves continually. The layered architecture rising from defensive walls to the abbey summit forms a perfect miniature society symbolizing humanity's enduring desire to reach heaven. Its separation from the mainland has turned this place into a witness to history, a lonely home, enduring amid nature's uncontrollable and relentless force. Eilean Donan rises in the Scottish Highlands like one of the world's loneliest strongholds, where stone architecture blends beautifully among three great sea locks. The castle was built in the 13th century with stone walls about 13 feet thick, creating a powerful fortress against every possible attack. The only stone bridge linking the fortress to the mainland serves as the sole approach, creating a feeling of complete separation from today's life. Its position at the meeting point of tidal currents makes the island's appearance constantly shift, creating a fascinating transformation filled with unexpected beauty. The perfect union of rough grey stone architecture and the still surrounding water has turned this place into a cultural symbol of Scotland. Pontyconacy Island lies in the Sea off Greece, famous for an ancient religious structure quietly hidden beneath lush green trees covering its surface. This island originates from Greek mythological stories, and locals compare it to the fossilized stone ship of a legendary ancient hero. With its tiny area, visitors need only about 3 minutes by traditional wooden boat to circle the entire island's perimeter. Without complex power grids or modern comforts, the island still preserves its untouched beauty like an ancient religious painting. Lush rows of cypress trees cover the space, creating an isolated atmosphere where loneliness becomes a luxury value amid the vast ocean. After more than 1,000 years of existence, Pontyconacy still stands quietly in the bay, carrying humanity's ancient, legendary sky. Located atop a towering limestone column in Wisconsin, United States, the House on the Rock is among the strangest and loneliest architectural masterpieces. The house was built around a massive natural rock, creating a rough yet lasting connection between human hands and the forces of nature. The structure features a corridor extending about 217 feet into open air without supporting columns, challenging every rule of ordinary architecture. With more than 100,000 antiques displayed inside this place, becomes an inescapable maze containing countless fascinating mysteries. Its owner spent decades completing this asymmetrical architectural work, creating a solitary entity standing outside every modern standard. The combination of old wood, stone, and brick materials gives the complex a nostalgic, gloomy beauty amid the vast ancient forest. Unlike famous museums around the world, this complex preserves the creator's isolated imagination to exist forever with the stone. Muckle Lighthouse stands at the northern edge of Scotland's Shetland Islands, rising on a sharp rock amid the vast and violent Atlantic Ocean. This solid structure was built in 1858, serving as the final point of land before reaching distant, unexplored waters beyond. Throughout World War II, this place once served as strategic eyes, helping the British military observe every movement of approaching warships. The tower directly inspired the first pages written by great author Robert Louis Stevenson for his world-famous classic Treasure Island. Its absolute isolation once forced lighthouse keepers to live far from their families for months, facing extremely harsh psychological challenges. Muckle Lighthouse has become a classic symbol of invincibility, standing against time as proof of human resilience in the ocean. St. Nicholas Church on the water in Russia is the world's loneliest church, standing firmly amid vast waters like a silent witness to history. The remaining island area is only slightly larger than a spacious studio apartment in Paris, giving the church a truly unique position in the lake. Using small wooden boats to reach this structure is the only way visitors can access its quiet atmosphere, filled with solemnity and spiritual isolation. Its white walls and brilliant golden dome have endured for 1 century, becoming an immortal symbol of the perseverance and endurance of faith. The image of the lonely church reflected upon calm water creates a haunting visual scene, recalling cultural values that once existed here long ago. The silence covering this place makes every visitor feel the beauty of isolation compared with the lively churches found across bustling Moscow today. St. Michael's Mount is a mystical, two-faced wonder in Cornwall, where a stone causeway reveals itself only at low tide and vanishes completely when the waters rise. Seen from afar, the grey stone castle, rising from the crashing waves against the sky, creates a scene as cinematic as any classic film. This location boasts an ancient history, serving as a tin trading hub since pre-Roman times and linked by many ancient records to the legendary island of Ichthys. There are no cars on the island, with all transport relying solely on hand carts or boats to maintain daily life. This isolation is further underscored by a unique funicular railway used exclusively for hauling goods, which does not carry passengers. Wrapped in folklore, the island is said to have been built by the giant Cormoran, whose defeat by the hero Jack cemented this place as a cornerstone of British legend. Hundreds of families in Fangamgar Bay chose to anchor their lives to wooden stilts instead of solid ground, transforming Koh Phangan into a kingdom floating in the void. Protected by a massive limestone cliff, the village appears from above like a wooden mat stitched to the mountain, using the rock face as a natural shield against heavy storms. Two Indonesian fishing families originally sought out this spot as a final refuge, deciding to walk away from the earth and entrust their entire future to the sea. Because foreign ownership of land was restricted at the time, building on water became both their method of survival and a clever legal workaround. Koh Phangan remains an autonomous community with its own distinct rules, staying detached from the social norms and lifestyle found across the rest of Thailand. Connected by planks woven deep into the Emerald Bay, the houses form a resilient settlement that has endured for generations in the middle of the vast ocean. Tayun Mountain Taoist Temple on Mount Tayun is known as one of the most dangerous Taoist temples and even the most dangerous house in the world because it sits alone on a high cliff among clouds and deep ravines. To satisfy their longing to practice cultivation in the place closest to the heavens, the Taoist priests of the Ming dynasty gave their whole lives and carried each brick by hand along the steepest mountain paths. From a distance, the red walls of the monastery seem attached to the vertical rock face, making the whole structure look as if it is hanging on the mountainside. When mist moves through the cracks in the rocks, the temple appears and disappears as if it has been cut off from the roads and human voices below the mountain. The Guanyin Hall, with its golden roof, occupies the most unusual position, with 3 sides facing open air, so it looks like a small bright point caught on the cliff. Because there is no modern supply road, many daily necessities still have to be carried up by human strength, making Tayun Mountain Taoist Temple remarkable not only for its location, but also for the way it keeps existing in a place almost cut off from the outside world. In the grey waters off the coast of England, Maunsell sea forts appear as some of the most bizarre military structures ever built, like forgotten steel giants left from World War II. From far away, these structures look like alien walking machines from a science fiction movie standing still in the cold open sea. Even though they look as if they are standing on the water, they were actually built on concrete bases or steel legs driven deep into the seabed. Because of the extreme salt of the North Sea, the steel parts of the forts are constantly attacked by rust, giving them the look of haunting, rotting steel monsters. After World War II ended in 1945, the military completely abandoned these forts and left them for time and the ocean to damage. In 1967, the Rough Sands Fort even declared itself the independent country of Sealand with its own constitution and currency. Saxon Village is called the village sleeping inside the mountains, where turf roof houses sit between cliffs, water, and fog almost cut off from the rest of the world. In the 17th century, a violent storm filled the only sea exit, with sand turning Pelurin Lagoon into a closed lake and making Saxon even harder to reach. The small church built in 1858 became the only spiritual anchor in the valley, a place people came to when loneliness covered everything. Here, sheep outnumber residents by dozens of times, making Saxon feel more like a valley for animals than a crowded village. The houses are scattered across the wide landscape, and each small roof feels like a fragile sign that people are still holding on here. Before the modern road existed, Saxon lived almost self-sufficiently for hundreds of years because reaching the village by land was once extremely difficult. For Finnish people, a moki is not just a wooden cabin in the forest, but a ritual of returning to solitude to heal the mind. The tradition of mokielama has been rooted in Finnish life for centuries, turning these small houses into places where people make their own fire, collect their own water, and step away from modern life. Many moki cabins are painted in the traditional Falu red color, standing alone in the deep green forest like small signs of human life in a vast natural world. From the wooden window, facing a still lake, the person inside can feel time slow down with only the water, the low sky, and the surrounding trees in view. Thanks to every man's right, a moki also becomes a base for anyone who wants to go into the forest to pick berries, find wild mushrooms, and taste the raw flavor of Finland. Since forests cover about 75% of Finland, many moki cabins are almost surrounded by old pine trees, forming a green wall that separates people from the breath of the city. This is Casa do Penedo, a real-life architectural work with a magical look like something from the Flintstones, making people wonder how a house could grow out of giant rocks. From far away, the house looks like a toy forgotten on a windy plateau, surrounded only by bare stone wild grass and a wide open space that feels cold. Casa do Penedo is tightly wedged between grey granite boulders, so its shape is almost decided by the rocks around it. Construction began in 1974 by a family searching for quiet, not to show off, but to live far away from modern civilization. Because there is no power grid connected to it, every ray of light inside Casa do Penedo becomes a luxury, making isolation here not just a feeling, but a real living condition. Nearby, huge wind turbine fields create a thoughtful contrast between the ancient look of the stone house and the loud movement of technology. This is Lucomir, the highest and most remote village in Bosnia and Herzegovina, a jewel forgotten by time, where people still live by traditions from the Middle Ages. Surrounded by the deep limestone canyons of the Rakitnica River, Lucomir feels like an oasis completely separated from the civilized world below. The dark wooden roof houses are layered across green grass in summer and white snow in winter, looking as if they are holding tightly to the mountainside against the fierce winds of the highlands. From November to April, snow several feet deep covers the area, and when snowfall reaches its peak, the only road into the village can be completely blocked for months. Life here revolves around raising sheep on high mountain pastures, a way of life that has continued for generations in this isolated landscape. The people of Leucomia still wear finely hand-embroidered traditional clothing in their daily lives, and the village's isolation has become a protective shell for cultural traditions that are slowly disappearing from the modern world. This is Gasa de Lure, where a handful of small houses sit between towering mountains and the raging ocean, so isolated that the village remained forgotten by much of the world for centuries. Before 2004, Gasa de Lure was almost completely cut off from the outside world because no mountain tunnel existed. The population is very small, usually between 11 and 18 people, and one source recorded about 13 residents in 2023. Mullafossur waterfall plunges directly into the ocean in front of the houses, making the village feel as if it stands at the edge of the world. The name Gasa de Lure, meaning Valley of the Geese, comes from legends about wild geese that once lived here, a symbol of freedom across the open sea. That rare isolation has turned Gasa de Lure into a million-dollar icon of global photography, even though it remains a tiny community between mountains and ocean. Crystal Mill is one of the most iconic landmarks in the United States, a lonely wooden mill hidden deep within the rugged mountains of Colorado. The structure stands on a steep granite cliff above the Crystal River at more than 9,000 feet above sea level, with fast-moving water flowing directly below it. Built in 1892 from local pine wood, the mill was part of the silver mining boom that helped shape the history of Colorado. Crystal Mill is privately owned, and visitors are not allowed to enter the building. To reach the site, you must use a four-wheel drive vehicle or hike for hours along rough mountain trails. Today, thousands of photographers continue to visit Crystal Mill to capture images of this solitary structure surrounded by the Colorado wilderness. Kolmanskop is located deep in the Namib Desert, the oldest desert in the world, where massive sand dunes are slowly swallowing an once prosperous diamond mining town. In 1908, the discovery of diamonds beneath the sand turned this area into one of the richest mining settlements in the region, attracting rapid population and economic growth. But in 1928, as diamond reserves declined and larger deposits were found in the south, Kolmanskop was abandoned in a very short time. Empty houses were gradually filled with sand, entering rooms, corridors, and living spaces as the desert slowly reclaimed the entire town. Kolmanskop is now managed as a protected site where you must obtain permission and follow guided routes to avoid damaging structures that are being eroded by sand, turning each visit into a controlled historical observation. The dry climate with almost no rainfall for many years means the buildings are not destroyed by moisture, but worn down by wind and sandstorms, leaving a town slowly disappearing under the desert sun. McMurdo Station is the most isolated human settlement on Earth, where winter lasts through endless nights that cover the entire research base. Temperatures often drop between -20 degrees Fahrenheit and -40 degrees Fahrenheit, turning life at McMurdo into a harsh survival struggle against extreme cold. Founded in 1956 as a logistics base for scientific research, McMurdo gradually developed into a small town where hundreds of people live completely cut off from the outside world. Light blue and grey buildings are scattered across dark volcanic rock, forming a landscape that feels like scattered fragments of a forgotten world at the edge of the earth. McMurdo is not a regular travel destination, as access is limited to scientists and support staff, turning every journey into an expedition into one of the most extreme environments on the planet. Under strict international environmental regulations, all waste must be removed from Antarctica, making McMurdo a trace-free human community in a frozen desert. Korovai tree houses are not just houses, but nests built on top of tall trees where people still live in a primitive harmony with nature. These houses are built on tree canopies reaching 150 feet in the primary rainforest of Papua, becoming isolated observation points that separate humans from the dangerous ground below. The valley where the Korawai people live is surrounded by dense rainforest and a complex river network, making access by land almost impossible. The Korawai community was only known to the outside world in the 1970s, and these tree houses are traces of an ancient way of life still existing today. From above, only a deep green sea of forest canopy can be seen covering the entire view, making each house look like a small island in an ocean of leaves. The journey to reach the Korawai settlement takes many days of walking through the forest and traveling by dugout canoe, making the treehouse experience a harsh challenge for any explorer. La Rinconada, located at an elevation of 16,700 feet above sea level, is the highest settlement in the world, where the thin air makes every breath a struggle for survival against nature. The boom of artisanal gold mining in the 2000s turned La Rinconada from a temporary mining camp into a chaotic town with tens of thousands of people drawn by gold fever. The town completely lacks basic services such as waste treatment systems or a stable power grid, yet it still exists as a symbol of survival under extreme conditions. The entire area is covered with gold dust and industrial waste on white snow, creating a sharp contrast between the natural environment and human exploitation. La Rinconada has no official tourism infrastructure, and reaching it requires passing through dangerous mountain paths, turning the journey into a difficult expedition. The presence of mercury and waste in the mining environment means visiting this place is not about enjoyment, but a direct confrontation with the dark side of the gold mining industry. Adrera Amelal is a mud village isolated in the Great Sand Sea Desert, where solitude carries an ancient mystical tone and a heavy silence. The village lies at the base of White Mountain in the Sahara, becoming a lonely stop where life is surrounded by endless golden dunes. It is built entirely from kershef, a traditional mixture of salt rock and mud, and the houses represent centuries of desert cultural history. Each structure is carefully shaped by hand, making Adrer Amelal feel like a massive sculptural work where raw mud becomes a refined form of beauty. Food served here comes directly from the oasis garden, creating a dining experience closely connected to the land and its environment. Adrera Amelal is a symbol of true luxury found in silence and purity, where value comes not from material wealth, but from freedom within a clean and untouched space. Fanjingshan in China is a sacred mountain isolated among the clouds, where steep terrain erases the boundary between earth and sky. It is known for ancient pillar-like rock formations rising on the summit, where access is only possible through narrow and difficult paths. The entire area is covered by dense, primary forest, creating a natural barrier between the mountain and the outside world. Fanjingshan is considered one of China's important sacred mountains linked to centuries of religious and historical significance. The sudden changes in elevation cause constant shifts in climate, with clouds covering the summit for most of the year. This isolation and unique geography make Fanjingshan feel both spiritual and completely detached from modern life. This is Bivako, a metal shelter located at about 9,300 feet on the slopes of Mont Blanc, where all connection with the world below is almost completely cut off. The structure is fixed directly onto a vertical rock face, higher than 400 meters, with no normal access path and only reachable through technical climbing. The entire structure is designed to withstand winds over 120 kilometers per hour heavy snow and temperatures dropping below -30 degrees Celsius. From inside, the view opens to a sea of clouds at nearly 10,000 feet, where the boundary between space and terrain almost disappears. Bivako Gyurvasuti is used as a resting point on Mont Blanc climbing routes spanning dozens of kilometers, where weather can change within minutes. Its extreme altitude and complete isolation make it one of the most dangerous yet important mountain shelters in the Alps. Cliffs of Moher Cottage sits right on the edge of a cliff nearly 700 feet high, where below is a deep and endless ocean with no way back. This area is frequently hit by strong Atlantic winds exceeding 60 miles per hour, making it extremely difficult to stand steady along the cliff edge. The house stands alone on the edge of the cliffs of Moher, where the Atlantic Ocean continuously crashes into the vertical rock face throughout the year. The entire landscape stretches for about 9 miles of cliffs, where flat, green land sits on top, but the edge drops sharply into the deep and wide Atlantic Ocean below. Waves tens of feet high constantly hit the cliffs, causing continuous erosion over time with no stopping point. This complete isolation and extreme edge position make it one of the clearest images of a lonely house in nature. The Huanglianshan Range, known as the Roof of Indochina, with Fansipan Peak rising over 14,000 feet, is one of the most extreme mountain regions in Vietnam. At higher altitudes, the climate changes rapidly between mountain layers, with temperatures dropping sharply and air becoming thinner near the summit. The entire region stretches for dozens of miles of continuous mountain ranges, filled with dense cloud forests and near constant fog throughout the year. Small huts and high-altitude shelters are built in simple forms to serve climbers, acting as temporary resting points in harsh natural conditions. Reaching these areas often requires hours of continuous climbing through steep and unstable forest terrain. This complete separation from the valley below has turned the region into one of the most isolated mountain environments in Huanglianshan. St Kilda is the most remote archipelago of the United Kingdom, located more than 40 miles from the mainland in the Atlantic Ocean, almost completely isolated from the outside world. Towering cliffs, rising over 1,300 feet, surround the islands, forming a natural wall where the sea crashes directly against the rock year-round. weather conditions are extremely harsh, with strong winds, heavy rain, and constant rough seas, making survival fully dependent on nature. The island community that once lived there left in 1930, leaving St Kilda without any permanent inhabitants. Remaining stone houses and structures reflect a self-sufficient lifestyle shaped by long-term isolation across generations. Today, St Kilda is preserved as a World Heritage Site, representing the complete withdrawal of humans from an extreme natural environment. Mount Athos, also known as the Holy Mountain, is an isolated monastery that is a kingdom of eternal silence, where monastic life is almost completely separated from the modern world. The entire area can only be accessed by sea, and entry and exit are strictly controlled, making it one of the most closed communities in Europe. Virgin forest covers more than 90% of the peninsula's area, creating a nearly absolute natural layer of isolation from the outside world. More than 20 ancient monasteries are scattered along the mountain slopes and coastline, built from hundreds to more than 1,000 years ago. Visiting this place requires a special permit called Diamonetarian, with a limited number issued each day, making the experience a rare privilege in a strictly protected atmosphere of silence. Dharamsala hermitages are retreat dwellings, scattered along the slopes of the Himalayas, where people withdraw completely from urban life to seek absolute silence. Having become home to the Tibetan exile community since the 1950s, these hermitages inherit the essence of ancient monastic architecture, where simplicity is considered the highest form of beauty. The culture in Dharamsala values absolute silence, and visitors often realize that solitude is not sadness, but an opportunity to listen to the voice of nature. The climate changes sharply with altitude, with deep winter cold and thick fog covering the region for most of the year. Most hermitages serve as small personal or group retreat spaces, and visits require permission from monastic leaders, turning each journey into a search for kindness rather than tourism. The isolation among high mountains and long-term monastic life has turned this place into one of the most distinctive retreat environments in the Himalayas. You are standing in front of the Greenland hunting cabins, one of the most unique, free wilderness shelter networks on Earth that gives people access to untouched survival experiences in the heart of the majestic Arctic. These wooden cabins are painted in highly visible colors such as bright red and lemon yellow, making them easy for hunters to spot from miles away. Even though they are located in a remote area, the cabins are equipped with a special 3-layer insulated glass window system that helps prevent heat from escaping. All locks and door handles are made in an extra-large size, allowing visitors to open and close them easily without taking off their thick protective gloves. The trail connecting these shelters is regularly ranked among the best hiking trips in the world by National Geographic and Lonely Planet. Staying here today has significant historical value because the surrounding natural landscape could change completely within a few decades. Instead of being built on the mainland, the town of Upernavik in Greenland stands on a remote rocky island surrounded by the icy waters of the Arctic Ocean. In these cold waters, ancient icebergs that have formed over thousands of years can display beautiful shades of blue and green as light passes through the dense ice. The town has a short airport runway measuring 2,625 feet, creating a unique landing experience for pilots approaching the island. Many wooden houses are painted in bright colors, giving the settlement a distinctive and cheerful appearance against the snowy surroundings. To adapt to the Arctic environment, many local residents continue traditions connected to fishing and hunting that have been practiced for generations. Great Blasket Island holds an important place in history, and the waters around it are part of Ireland's first national marine park. One of its most beautiful features is a white sandy beach that contrasts sharply with the clear blue sea and appears like a hidden oasis along the coast. The island's landscape was formed from old red sandstone that has been shaped by the ocean over millions of years, creating dramatic cliffs and numerous sea caves. The island is now a protected nature reserve that supports the country's largest population of grey seals, along with many rare seabird species. Today, the former village contains only about 30 abandoned stone houses whose walls remain standing in the coastal mist. One of the most remarkable aspects of this remote island, which once had no more than 160 residents, is its rich literary heritage that produced classic works, later translated into many languages. The Mount Rainier Fire Lookout System in Washington State of the United States are ancient fire watchtowers perched precariously on cliff edges. The National Park Service worked hard to protect these wooden structures, and they were officially recognized as National Historic Places in 1991. The entire tower is firmly secured to the bedrock by 4 massive steel cables, helping the building withstand harsh weather conditions throughout the year. Surrounding the lookout stations is a rugged landscape covered with pumice and grey volcanic ash left behind by past eruptions of the ancient volcano. When a remarkable weather event occurs, a thick blanket of fog fills the valleys and makes the lookout appear like a lonely island floating above a sea of clouds. Today, volunteers still open the watchtower to visitors, demonstrating how to use the firefinder and sharing stories from 100 years ago. Newly completed mountain roads are gradually connecting the valley to the world, opening up economic opportunities, but also threatening the authenticity of this thousand-year-old culture. In this unspoiled region, irrigation channels fed by melting glaciers have turned barren gravel plains into vibrant green barley fields. Ancient settlements are well known for their distinctive architecture, with houses built dramatically on steep limestone cliffs. Inside historic libraries, thousands of valuable Buddhist manuscripts are still preserved, many written with ink made from crushed gold and precious gemstones. For centuries, local people and travelers have carved sacred mantras by hand onto tens of thousands of flat stones, creating many walls that extend for hundreds of feet. Newly completed mountain roads are gradually linking the valley with the outside world, bringing economic opportunities while also creating challenges for the preservation of its isolated culture. Jutting into the edge of the Arctic Ocean like a giant stone knife, Lingstuva Lighthouse Cabin stands where steep cliffs drop dramatically into the deep blue sea. This remarkable landscape was shaped by the powerful erosion of ancient glaciers, creating a distinctive point of land along the coast. Standing at this remote location, visitors can enjoy a breathtaking view where three major fjord systems meet and open toward the ocean. Instead of sandy beaches, the rugged shoreline around the lighthouse is covered with millions of smooth pebbles that have been polished by strong ocean waves. From November to January, Warm ocean currents bring large schools of herring through the area, attracting hundreds of killer whales and humpback whales that feed close to shore. This cabin, which is free to enter, has been recognized by the Directorate for Cultural Heritage as an outstanding example of community-based preservation of historic architecture. Unlike traditional architecture, La Casa del Desierto in the Spanish desert is a fully self-sufficient glass house that pushes the limits of modern building materials. With an area of about 215 square feet, this unique structure features an open design that blends the indoor living space with the vast surrounding landscape. Surrounding the house is a spectacular badland, known for its colorful Coloraus sandstone cliffs, where iron oxide creates a striking red appearance similar to the surface of Mars. Despite the dry climate, the landscape has been deeply carved by powerful flash floods caused by intense rainstorms. Thanks to its exceptionally clear skies, recognized by the Starlight Foundation, visitors can easily view the brilliant Milky Way without interference from light pollution. To experience a simple off-grid lifestyle, travelers must cross rugged trails in four-wheel drive vehicles and completely disconnect from the digital world. Known as the loneliest house in the misty countryside, Skiddaw House stands proudly like a remote oasis in the middle of a vast, barren moorland covering thousands of acres. One unusual feature can be seen beside the building, where a grove of ancient larch trees grows unexpectedly and provides shelter for the stone house within the wide open landscape. The weather here is extremely severe and can suddenly bring hail or snow, reducing visibility to less than 10 feet in as little as 2 hours. During winter, the bedrooms do not have modern heating systems, and visitors stay warm by using traditional rubber hot water bottles. Because there are no paved roads within a distance of 3.5 miles, travelers must hike across rugged rocky trails to reach the house. Located along the famous Cumbria Way walking route, this house has played an important role in helping generations of hikers stay safe from the dangers of the harsh natural environment. Point King Lighthouse and its cottage ruins are recognized as the second oldest lighthouse site in Western Australia, standing proudly on a steep cliff that drops directly into the deep sea. The landscape is made up of massive granite and gneiss rock formations that have been heavily shaped by powerful ocean waves, creating a rugged and challenging coastline. One of the most distinctive features of this historic site is the old cabin structure, which has doorways framed with smooth red-fired bricks. This architectural design helps distribute weight evenly around the openings while creating a striking color contrast that attracts photographers from around the world. The remote and difficult-to-reach location of the cliff serves as a natural layer of protection, allowing this historic ruin to remain remarkably preserved for more than 168 years. The village of Monsanto in Portugal is known for having one of the most unique architectural styles in the world, with houses built around beneath and between giant granite boulders. Many of the historic homes were constructed directly under massive rocks, creating a durable building solution that has survived for centuries. At the highest point of the mountain, the remains of an ancient castle blend into the natural cliffs after a major ammunition depot explosion took place during the 19th century. These enormous rounded boulders appear as though they could roll down the mountainside at any moment, even though they have remained stable for millions of years. Visitors can enjoy a remarkably unusual dining experience at a local restaurant where the walls and ceiling are tightly enclosed by two massive rocks. Beyond the village, natural stone caves perched on the cliffs still preserve traces of the isolated retreats once used by medieval monks.